Call the meeting to order. It's 6:05. Present are trustees Linda and Diane, BJ, and Ken, and myself, Rosemary, for the town clerk and treasurer. And I guess Donna's on Zoom. Donna, hello. Oh, that.
Hello.
Hi. Is your son doing okay?
Yep, he's doing okay. He's getting a little bit better.
Okay. I hope he has a light case like a lot of us did. And Jack, Kelly. And Scotty is.
I just go live. It didn't tell me if I needed to press record on Zoom.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make an adjustment.
Okay.
I'd like to move the wastewater report before the members of the public.
Great, thank you. I was going to suggest that.
And I have another change.
Mhm.
The number 5 in the last section, I have not received an actual application yet, so we don't need to bother with that.
Okay. And Ken Nolan called me from Denver, so he won't be here. And I'm gonna do the electric report for Nate. I told him he didn't have to stick around. He needed to do something. So after the treasurer's report, we'll have Dan, right? That's the, yeah. Okay. So starting with the review and approve of minutes of the trustee meetings. There's 3 meetings, August 5th, August 8th, and August 19th. I believe 2 of them, 4 more. August 3rd. 2 of them, at least 2 of them were special meetings.
Well, that should be August 31st, right?
Pardon?
Should be August 31st.
Oh, it should be August 31st.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 5th, August 8th, August 19th, and August 31st.
Is there a second to Ken's motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Passes unanimously. So now we're up to the treasurer's report.
Is everybody sending the orders? Yes.
I'll come in tomorrow morning and do them.
Okay.
All right.
Everybody else is signing them?
And the budget status.
Yeah. You should have one in your packet.
This.
General ledger.
Yes.
Email me one, I'll get a chance. Okay, next one. Thank you. I'm gonna turn that off.
All revenues, no.
Yeah, Susan is trying to contact MVU about their donation for the fire department. They haven't heard back yet from them. And pilot payments we'll be getting in October. And the town will be paying their fire payment and their 10 cents in the grand list this month. Not a lot of changes on the expenditure side. The electric starts on page 4. Sales are at 63% for the year. And that's January through August for 8 months. And power purchases are at 57% through July. And water, which starts on page 7. Sales are at 70%. And that's through August.
Can you explain what that means, the 70%? What does that mean?
We budgeted $100,000 and we've sold 70,000, so we're at 70% for the year.
I don't know.
Most of our sales run through the summertime.
Yeah,
Right?
but the college goes down in the summertime.
Sure.
The sewer starts on page 9. We're also at 70% on sewer.
So on page 6, where it says labor customer installation, and we budgeted 5,000, it's at 10,814. Why is that? What is this? What's that from? It's like in the middle of the page. Custom operations and supervision.
Which category is that on?
The
Electric.
That's electric. Electric.
It's on page 6.
6, okay.
It's not quite halfway down.
They've had quite a few jobs this summer. Of course, this, when we do the budget, that's the estimate. And we've done quite a bit more than what they thought they would do.
So that's electrical hookup.
Yes,
It's not changing out meters or doing anything.
No,
that.
that's like
new,
the work-
new installation.
yes, the work they did at Jolly's, and there's several new electric customers. And today I sent a bill to the Village of Hyde Park for the work that the Village of Johnson did for the Village of Hyde Park. That was roughly $2,000.
I have a question, not necessarily about this, but when somebody wants to hook up to the village sewer or water, there's a whole, if they're in the village, there's a whole permit process for that.
Yes,
Is there a fee for those permits?
yes. There's application fees and capacity charge fees.
So just in general, is there any big things that stick out at you as either that we need to be aware of?
I don't think so.
That's good.
The big thing on the set of orders was the J8 McDonald payment.
Uh-huh.
That's gonna be our last payment to them, right?
I believe so, yes. We're gonna get together and do a summary and everything, and the bottom line figure here, I said within a week or so.
So we just have to incorporate that bond payment into our regular budget for the
Yes.
next 20 years, is it?
I can't remember, if it's 20 or 30 years,
30?
which we already have, so we've already been approved for that. You know, every time we pay them, like Jamie Donald, they have to submit it to the state, then they reimburse us.
And we have some other bond payments that we pay regularly besides this new River Road
Oh,
pump
yes.
station one.
The water's got several, and the sewer department has a couple, and the electric department has one outstanding in the substation. They usually do twice a year. One time is a principal and the other time is interest.
Yeah.
We'll be paying them again in November. I think it's good.
Somehow could we get a list of those so that we know what department they are and the balance on them? I have a clue I have not a clue what we've got for bonds. And, you know, and when they'll be paid off.
We
Otherwise, it's all mixed into
refinanced them,
everything.
several of them a couple years ago. It was a good interest rate, so
Yeah,
that cut down on the our interest.
that's good.
And I gave you guys a printout of who is delinquent on their taxes as of today. No, I didn't see any. And overall, we still got almost 4% to collect. $4,400. And last year at this time, we were down to 3,200, and in 2020, we're at 9,700. So we're slightly under collected from last year. And 2020 was really the pandemic year.
Just out of curiosity, do we ever put properties up for auction or anything when they don't pay for their taxes, or?
We do when the town does theirs, because they won't take them for these small amounts.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
add
I'm
to the
just
town.
curious off to the side, do we do that like once a year or?
We haven't done it since the pandemic, but we're gonna start doing it.
Okay.
Probably 75% of these are mobile homes. And nobody will buy a mobile home.
So it's the town that would initiate that anyway.
Yes.
Because that's they got the biggest.
Yeah, we'll just
percentage.
piggyback on the towns.
Good, one less thing for us.
I think the only other thing, your meeting next month falls on Indigenous Day, and would you like to change your meeting date
I'd like to do it the day after.
on Tuesday?
Mhm.
Is that good for everyone? Ken, does it matter to you?
That's it.
Let's have we need a
Tuesday,
motion.
six.
What day is
Yeah, what's the
Be
number? on
October
it?
Would be the
11th.
13th,
October
right?
11th?
11th?
Oh, the 11th.
Do we need a motion for that or no?
No,
Just
Consensus is fine.
consensus? Okay.
It would be good for the board to remember full season starts October.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I gotta get my tree stand. put up.
So if the meetings could bump back to 7.
I'm open for that. I don't care.
I think we should start at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I'm working.
I agree.
Well, you can, and you can work late.
Thank you, Rosemary.
So wait a second before we do
One
that.
more
We
thing
had
for Rose.
talked- We had talked about October 10th being meeting with all of the previous trustees. Did anybody know? We didn't set that in motion, did we?
That hasn't been set up
We
yet.
were gonna talk to Gordy more about it and kind of get something hammered down more so we could,
So the
All the-
October 10th was our date that we talked about doing that.
so that we could poll the other trustees and try to get it all.
So we
Because
want
it
to do
would
that.
be, it's gotta be done, so it's not a meeting. So we have to do it, not at the village office, and it has to be in a, I believe, a public type setting.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Me, previous chairs
Oh,
for Eric.
Just to meet Eric, and
oh,
give
okay.
him some wisdom beyond.
So
the
our,
weekend.
initially, we talked about doing it from 5:30 to 6:30. That's what I put on my calendar. So anyway, we need to, if we're not gonna do anything on the 10th, we need to pick another date. I'll pick Gordy's brain and see what it says.
Shoot us an email, said I'd just poll the other people that we were gonna invite to.
I'm gonna set a date, I'm not gonna.
And then we also have coming up this potential joint meeting with the town on either the 12th or the 19th, I believe.
She gave us a time. Cause I thought she was kind of in limbo at this point.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, last time I talked to her.
Just, it's, no, yeah, that's
Okay.
just still kind of trying to figure it out.
The 12th or the 19th, though, is what you talked about with her?
With Beth,
Yeah.
either the 12th or the 19th, because she's leaving for Europe after
Is that
that.
October?
And I'm gone.
Yeah, we're in October now for that one.
12th or 19th?
And I'm gone, let's say, I'm gone from the 20th until November. 19th. I'm gone for 3 weeks.
12th is,
It's a Wednesday.
12th or 19th is good with me, either, they're both Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's
That's why
right.
we
You
said
work
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, right?
That's
No,
why we
Wednesdays I
picked,
have off.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm-
that's why we picked Wednesdays to begin with.
Yep, that's
All right.
perfect, either is good. Just let me know.
And we should, I was gonna throw in that we should have a work session here, and try to come up with some prioritizing for Eric when she starts on the project, say the garage. You know, helping with Dan with the other section up there, anyway.
Yeah, the garage is my big one, and I,
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that we should prioritize
Okay.
too. I don't know if we wanted to set a time and date for that.
you mean having a special meeting?
I would say we would need to have an open meeting
Let's-
on prioritizing the work session.
All right, so there's probably gonna be a couple other things, I'm guessing, coming up that we may have to include in that, so,
Well, we have the no idle policy,
right,
we have the employee review policy.
right.
We have-
So we can cover all those things.
All in one, and
All in
Eric will be there too.
Well, then we can, like I said, just spin them all out and then kind of prioritize what we say.
Yep.
Have them hit the ground running on starting first.
Sounds good.
Because gotta do ARPA in there, harassment.
I know we had to have the no idle policy done by, I believe he said January, or not in the email. So it would be set so we can still get our grant. Which Troy pretty much gave us 2 policies to pick from and went with the second one. It's the easiest worded, pretty much straightforward for
Who
everybody.
was it that
Troy sent them
Troy.
from the
Yeah, a couple months ago. I sent
for the
Yeah.
grant.
I remember seeing it, but I didn't know who it came
It's a
from.
requirement we need to do for a grant for the bucket truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me ask you, also, Troy's thing is coming up soon, right? End of September?
Yes.
So should all this be kind of thrown in with that? Because we gotta figure out what we're doing then.
Whether we're gonna extend,
Well, that
so
would
I
go
wanted
on-
to wait till Eric is here. for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it would have to be after the
Executive
19th.
Start with, so
What?
that would involve an executive session to start with.
Right.
So I was just thinking that if we had a work session, that would be just all we do in that one, so we don't get that. If we prioritize a bunch of stuff for him to hit the ground running with, it would be better than me coming in and throwing in ideas, Diane and then Linda, you know what I mean, all separately like that. Where or we can just say this is the first goal.
And
This-
Rosemary, I think it would be really good if you had a list too, you know, that you think that we might not know about.
Well, I'm assuming she was gonna be at our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
So this is,
Just
should-
case and
It's ready,
stuff.
so you have to.
so this should be
Yeah.
before our next meeting, since again, Troy's. We don't know what's going on at the end of this month.
Right.
So it should be right before that, so we can deal with this, we can deal with Troy, we can deal with policies.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a throw together.
We'll
meeting.
wait
You
till
know, we
Eric's
want
here.
to go for the.
Well,
end of the
Eric's
week.
here after the 19th.
Right,
Yeah, so anytime after the 19th and before
Right. a
Troy's
week
thing
from
is
today,
up.
he started,
Cause when is Troy's thing up?
the end of September.
End of
Yeah.
September,
That's only 3 weeks away.
yeah.
So we have to do it next couple weeks here.
Mhm.
And somebody has to talk to Troy to see where we're at. Or where he's at.
So do you want to do a Wednesday night before the end of September?
I'm fine. Yeah. I just think it's
So
really
you've got
important to
the
do that before.
21st, either this Wednesday or the 21st or the 28th.
I mean, the work group one would be great, bring Eric in on, because that's gonna be slow going, just talking, bringing up ideas to whoever should start.
Yeah.
Rosemary showing out, like, no, we should do this first, you know what I mean, that would be a good one.
So when is what is next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday's the 21st, Eric starts
Eric will
on
be here.
Monday.
Yep, so Eric will be here for that one.
I won't be here.
You won't be here. Okay, what
I'm
about
at
the
a
one after?
conference.
What's the one after that?
The 28th,
28th.
following Wednesday.
So that'll
That's-
give Eric 2 weeks on the job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cutting it close for Troy, but
cutting it really close.
And we can do it, throw all this policy stuff and that stuff for Eric.
Well, again, if we keep out this work group section, and keep any executive out of it, maybe we could do an executive next week with just us, and we Zoom or even come in, you know.
Oh, for the work thing with,
Know to figure out what we're gonna do with
With
Troy's
Troy.
contract.
oh, gotcha.
We should do that
Yeah, I
next
want,
week.
yeah, I want
Yeah.
Eric to be
It's all-
here when we do that.
He will be,
Yeah,
We
right,
should do
okay,
that next week.
yeah. I'm fine with that.
okay.
So next Wednesday is the executive for Troy and moving forward, and then a week after that is the throw all.
If you think we need anything for that meeting.
Executive.
Yeah, that meeting that you're going will just be about Troy.
That's September 21st.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then September 28th is
Everything,
everything.
yeah. So on the everything, we do need to do an agenda for that, right? This is not executive.
Yeah,
28th, we could do, yeah,
Okay,
we're going to do agenda.
Even if it is an executive, I think we need to.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
I think everybody just kind of come up with our projects we can think of, I'm sure we'll all have a lot of the same, but
Yeah,
Just call it
I have a
priority
list.
list projects.
Mhm.
All right, so that brings us to Dan, I believe. You've got the floor, Dan.
All right. On the wastewater, the EDMR and the WR 43 were submitted to the state. We completed our permit required annual constituent testing of our effluent for the state. The results came back excellent. I attended the substantial completion meeting with Steve for the New River Road Pump Station. There are several small punch list items for the contractor to complete. There is an issue with the design of the control panel that the engineers are working on to correct. I don't know if it's going to end up being corrected or not. I'm fighting back to whether they're gonna cover the costs or not. It was definitely an error that fell through the cracks on their end, but whether they'll fess up to it or not, we'll see. From an operating standpoint, it should be fixed, but again, depends on the money. So, as far as on the River Road project, the village ended up being responsible for about $4,500 of the emergency sewer connection on River Road as part of the upgrade. That was that line that nobody knew existed on the bottom that we had to reroute to the upper one. The two options were that we either could they get a temporary easement to that connection house. The village could take over that, which means we don't own that connection forever. And then you'd get the state funding at the 40%, I believe it was. Or we pay for everything outside of the easement, of the highway easement. And then we don't own it, they still own it. By far, that's the best option. You don't want to own sewer connections, because that if that ever needed to be dug up, it would cost you, the whole project cost $24,000 this time. I can imagine what's gonna cost down the road. So, so I believe you already signed the paperwork for that. So, unfortunately, we're on the hook for $4,500, but it's is what it is. I fought for it, but I didn't win. We painted the concrete floors in the hallway of the wastewater plant around the MCC panel. We received the grease seals for the belt press. They were extremely hard to find, but we finally got them, and they are the correct ones. We'll start rehabbing the belt press as time allows between press runs. It looks like we budgeted $20,000 for that, and I believe we're in for about 11,000.
So the belts were that much? That what you said?
We put in $20,000 to rehab the entire belt press. There were multiple things that were failing on it, and it was either that or get a new press, and a new press is $300,000. So we can do all the labor. We got put in the budget to purchase.
So you found the belts that would work.
Oh, we found everything we needed for it.
So
from
should you
multiple-
order extra ones just in case?
The belts we can get normally. That's
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a company in Maine that does the
Oh.
belts. We have spares of those and everything. It's just the rollers and things like that that were custom built that took a while.
So you're at only 11,000 versus 20.
I did tell you real quick.
It's in your report, but I think I miscoded one thing. So we're at 7,200 and 2,500. So we're at 9,700 roughly out of the 20,400. So
It sounds like you've been saving us a lot of money, Dan.
it was a headache, but we chased down all those things at the best we could.
So you virtually rebuilt it at that price right now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I can only foresee, there may be some odds and ends stuff that still pops up, but we're putting it back together, but we have everything substantially there.
So what Linda was saying, is there any, should you get extra seals?
The seals, now that we know where to get them, and we had to run around from everybody, I gave them the seals, it was a nightmare. And we end up they have them in stock, and we bought them and had them here within a week, so. Yeah, I don't think sourcing will be an issue now that we have it. When you buy from the company that built the press, they put their own stamps on everything. So trying to find that aftermarket, and for instance, these seals were $12 a set. Through that company, they were $92 a set. So that's why we wanted to source elsewhere, because you're going to spend almost $5,000 just in grease seals.
Yeah.
So instead we spent $96. So yeah, that'll be a substantial savings. So. H2O Innovations Environmental Health and Safety Manager visited and toured the facility. He performed a short safety audit. He was very happy with how the plant looked and found no immediate hazards. He'll follow up with an in-depth audit at a later date. There's some asphalt left over from the road cut on River Road. We had an area around the wet well, but the pavement was crumbling. It's where the truck's going in and out with the dumpster. We cleaned that all out, patched and tamped the area with the remaining asphalt. On the water slide, coliform samples were negative. We performed our yearly disinfection byproduct sampling for the water system. All results were well below state parameters. We assisted Simon operating system operators in sampling for coliform at both our wells. NVU had a positive coliform result and had to test our sources as part of their follow-up testing. The wells came back negative. Water loss for July, because I didn't have the numbers, was 15%. Water loss for August was 24%. This isn't on the report, but it's the added effort. The well pump is in at Menashe. We don't have an invoice for it yet to see whether it came in. They quoted us about $4,000 less than what we budgeted, so I should have that for the next meeting. And Nate just informed me that Chip Percy talked to him and and not discontinue it. That would involve rerouting around the well house building. I told Nate to have him. Chip said he wanted a meeting to talk with people, so I said get in touch with me and Eric, and we'll have a meeting and figure it out. I mean, it's something they want and they're willing to do. He wants the water kept there so that any future expansion on one side of the road, there's water available. What he wants. So And I agree, if there's an option, we can do there, but obviously, if they'll do the work and, you know, we can keep the cost down.
So you're talking rerouting around the building, getting it out of the building like we
Correct.
discussed. so-
Right, I'm not comfortable with that, in that, you know,
So
without us checking on it every day.
So how are we gonna actually disconnect from that then?
What, you'd have to cut it before it goes in the building, reroute around the building and plug it back in there, and it just bypasses the whole building.
Now have a big shut off valve somewhere that you can.
No, we wouldn't even show it, it wouldn't be connected to the native well, this would disconnect that from the native well. And it'd just be our line would go to that hydrant.
But they wanted to connect it the rest of the way themselves.
Anything beyond that would be future for them to deal with, yeah, they'd have to get a connection and, you know, everything, but they wanted to keep that line there, and not shut it off halfway down the hill that we talked about, so.
Because speaking of that, I think it's time we actually do talk in person.
Yeah, I think so too.
We had a verbal agreement with NATO, and they no longer own that well, and never had anything signed and dated that about us not using it, keeping it for emergency.
Right,
So I think
We
we
should
need to
probably
get-
have our attorney
Percy,
draft something.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that,
I think we should get something signed. So that it would be emergency well, you know what I mean, we're not dealing.
well, no, it won't be connected, you won't be able to use that well ever. If we go around, you will not be able to use that well ever.
I thought we were still gonna be able to use it as an emergency.
You have to physically disconnect that from our system.
Right, so I thought we were having a disconnected area, and then in case of emergency, we were going to connect back to it.
I guess we're ready to.
I thought we had to have it as emergency.
No,
That's
we
what the
don't.
state's
No.
requirement.
I already talked to them, and as far as they're concerned, we can run with one well, and that's, because if that goes, if you ever had to go to that well, you'd have to go on a do not drink order, not a do not boil, a do not drink order. If that becomes contaminated, you're gonna go on a do not drink order anyways. So the only thing that would happen is if that well failed, the well failed, the aquifer failed, et cetera. Is the only time you'd ever connect to that well. So if that happens, we're in a whole lot hurt. Long term, I would suggest looking for grants to drill another well somewhere. No, I think that'd be a wise thing to do.
10 years
Somewhere
to get
where-
that one.
Somewhere where we own,
I'd say it did take a point.
you know, somewhere where we own, like right by the reservoir, or something like that, you know. So, I think that's something that we probably aren't gonna have the budget for. It's gonna have to be something that we can get a grant to or something like that.
And won't hurt over the years, keep looking, it gives us time to
Absolutely.
look,
Absolutely,
instead of waiting until last minute.
yeah,
That we're in a spot.
right. So we'll definitely keep on the radar. So yeah, I'll tell Nate to get hold of Chip and, you know, set up a meeting with me and Eric. I'm getting everything third hand, you know, so I don't know it's 100% what they want, so.
So if I could throw in one thing, I'd like to thank Dan for all his extracurricular activities he's done for the village here during this
Yes.
time. And we're glad to have him back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
As I was telling them, I will probably be out middle of October-ish for an extended period, like 4 to 6 weeks. I'll have Tim, PCC'd on everything now, so he can handle any questions or anything, and I'll have him do the report, et cetera, so. We'll keep you guys informed and going. Okay.
And the village is grateful for all the extra work you put in to keep things running for us. So we know you have done
And
way
all the
more
money
than you were ever asked to do. So
Do what I can.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
thank you, Dan.
I guess you got the floor, RJ.
Okay, thank you. So the fire department would like to talk about a potential option for the radio repeater. Craig Carpenter, he's one of our assistant chiefs. Gidget Nolan Dodge, she's our captain. They've been working with me on the research and the analysis and everything. So I asked them to come along the meeting. They know everything that I do in terms of how we got to this point. So just by way of history, over like the last 10 or so years, kind of ever since narrow banding came, the radio coverage has been reduced. We've been looking for a potential way to set a repeater site midstream so that we could go from an incident to a tower antenna that would pick the signal up and retransmit it so we could get through to dispatch. We're having trouble getting from A to B. And the solution seems to be trying to have something in the middle that will pick things up. Everything that we've looked at has kind of fallen flat because of the cost of trying to, first of all, find a new site in Johnson that would have coverage and then go through the permitting process and all the development just to set up a tower. So in the last year or so, we've been sort of trying to look at what other options kind of outside the box, what other solutions might there be? And what we've sort of landed on in the last 6 months, primarily the last handful of months, we've been talking with Ken Harvey. His property on Route 100, it's 3277 Route 100 in Hyde Park. So it's just north of the town line up on 100C. There's an existing tower there that was converted from an old wind turbine, and it has a repeater site for Hyde Park and North Hyde Park Fire Department. In sort of talking and learning, it's privately, so Harvey, the landowner, is the landlord, and the existing structure for Hyde Park, they're the tenant. So we approached him to see if he'd be willing to take, have another tenant. Would he be willing to allow us to establish stuff on his tower? And the answer was yes, as long as we didn't interfere with what was already there. You know, there's already existing obligations. We would have to do some licensing. So we started to sort of look at that potential, and it seems real. So Burlington Communications, they're a Motorola sales and service distributor. They're actually in Williston. They're the ones that did the project originally. We looked at coverage maps, you know, what is that? What is the testing that's already been done, produced? It shows really good improvements for Johnson, super good improvement for the village, but for the town overall, mapping is real good. Waterville is pretty good, and Belvedere is marginal, but in terms of our coverage area, that particular site seems to really have some decent potential. We don't have to permit it because it has an existing approval, and to put a second antenna on it, the Hyde Park zoning would allow it without any new permit process. So it really comes down to, is it a reasonable site? Will it accomplish our goals, and can we enter into some sort of a lease agreement to be able to set this up? We had Burlington Communications do a quote for the equipment. The project is essentially a $20,000 project. That buys and installs the equipment onto the site that would get it up and running. The first task, or the first phase of it, you guys talked about it, I think last month, would be the licensing process. So we would have to get approval through FCC to upgrade or put higher output onto that physical site. That's kind of the one hurdle, right? Is you never really know what the response to that application will be. It could come back absolutely fine. It could come back that there's some sort of neighboring interference, and they could condition it so heavily that that might take away some of the potential of the site. You know, we may end up, based on that requirement, that, you know, may not turn out to be a fruitful site. But right now, everything's pointing like that would be a decent opportunity for us.
Say what else is on that tower already?
Hyde Park and North Hyde Park Fire Departments.
So it's just the fire departments, period.
Yeah. When we have had trouble in the past, when we've been working scenes and we can't get radio transmissions out to dispatch, we have jumped on their channel and used it. So I know that in places in Johnson and Waterville and stuff, we've actually used that channel. So that's also in support of the mapping, the coverage maps. We know physically that from our trucks, we've used that. Yes, we'd be developing a new site, but we've tested it on their channel. So that's kind of a reinforcing effort. So it seems like the most reasonable improvement for us. There's no site that will be 100% because of terrain, right? Just like cell phones, you got really good coverage in places and not in others. But this seems to be a substantially good opportunity to get us to where we can communicate, which is sometimes could be a life safety issue. You know, it's not just so much about property management, but it is, you know, also the life safety side of things. But so our request is first of all, to confirm that we have started that licensing request. We'll see how that goes, because that really is our first hurdle. But assuming that we have positive results, we would like to be in a position to be able to purchase the equipment, to be able to try to set that tower up, and be ready to enter into a lease agreement with the landlord, with the owner. We have the opportunity to do a long-term lease so we can protect our investment. What we suggest is the 20,000 that it would take to get set up. We feel that we could take a loan from our small tools capital fund, so we could essentially have an internal loan from our small tools fund to ourselves. That would allow us to buy and establish the project, and then do a repayment back into the fund so that the fund doesn't suffer over, we're going to suggest over a 10-year period. In doing that, if you look at some of the numbers and stuff like that, I believe there's an opportunity to create revenue, create money on the revenue side of the budget, right, through our contracts and through the stuff that's coming in, to be able to replenish the fund over that period. And it only would have about a 1% obligation to the budget overall. So if we enter into the project knowing that we got to generate funds to repay it, it's not going to be so huge and so burdensome that the day-to-day stuff doesn't work. That's why we're not suggesting a shorter term. We looked at some examples with like 3 and 5 and 8 years things, but 10 seemed to be a place that had like no ripple effect on the other stuff that you do with your day-to-day budgets.
When you say generate funds, do the other towns that we help out, are they going to contribute to this?
My suggestion, yes, they will have to. And my suggestion of how we accomplish that is through our annual contracts with the town of Johnson, town of Waterville, town of Belvedere. We prorate their use or obligation, and then our contract amount that we offer for them for 2023 will have a small increase that will be intended to be the repayment. Right, which would essentially be that same increase would be an increase to our capital contribution. So right now we're putting roughly 24,000 in, maybe we put in 26, right? And we see the money coming in, and then we see it moving over to the capital that way. Once the site is established, once we get our equipment up and running, right now the suggestion with Harvey is something in the neighborhood of about $150 a month lease. So we're looking at like an $1,800, $2,000 operating cost. I think that can come out of our day-to-day budget, right? Within our operations, you know, fuel, lighting, all the stuff, we have a communications line item, and I think we can run the project within that day-to-day thing. What we need is the cash to be able to build it and get it up and running, get it installed. So that is essentially our request, is that we feel this is the most suitable opportunity we've had. Again, I'm not going to, I want to be straight up. There's never going to be 100%, but this seems to be the most reasonable opportunity. It's got good data behind it. We've tried it just with our equipment on a different channel. That seems to give us some comfort. And we believe that we'd like to get approval to be able to have the 20,000 available, or be able to have Rosemary move that contingent on positive results of the licensing, not being so restrictive that, you know, we can't develop the site. If the licensing comes back really difficult or really restricted, we'll push pause before we buy equipment, because if we can't build something that will give us the benefit, you know, I don't want to be already obligated to that purchase.
So our budget that we set up for you guys starts in January, correct?
That is correct.
So you, in that budget, you would be able to eat to 1,800, 2,000 if per se this got done by midwinter or whatever. You'd be able to eat that out of your budget for next year.
Yeah, I do not see it being able to be built that fast, just in terms of availability of equipment and stuff. The what I am anticipating doing this year with the current 2022 budget is being able to shoulder the cost of the licensing, that roughly that 1,000 or so. So even if the project gets stalled, I can cover the licensing and our normal function.
Yep.
if we decide that it's positive and we want to move ahead with making a purchase, we're suggesting a loan to generate the capital to buy that.
So which one of your department members actually deals with the small tool fund?
That is essentially me because it's within the budget, but speaking strictly to the small tools fund, there are some obligations in there like bunker gear purchases and stuff. Gidge deals with that, so there are functions within that pool of money that she's responsible for preparing the purchases on.
Right? So you put you on the spot. You're a captain, correct? So, and with you doing all that, do you yourself feel that the small tools fund can handle that?
I do,
And have you looked in the future, like you said, we just did the helmets? I know you rolled in your air masks. I'm not sure were them in the small tools or were them in the capital.
They are in the small tools capital.
So you got a couple of hits in there. Them 2 hits are gone for quite a few years, but do you see anything that?
they were planned in the budget, so that money was there. As far as borrowing from the small school budget, it's borrowing Peter to pay Paul, but it's not gonna empty Peter with no cash at all. So if we, had an emergency road, had to replace it to him, we still could.
So you would have no concerns with us, okay? And
I would reinforce that, Ken, we've looked at some modeling for that. So the balance, if we take money out, yes, the balance is gonna go down, but replenishing it within that 10-year period puts it back in a spot to handle the projected replacement projects coming at it. So it's more of a balanced ebb and flow.
yeah, the reason I'm asking is because you were saying that your helmets are what, 10-year period?
Right.
And how long are your masks that we do?
Those are on either 16 or 20, but that is already built into the plan for another cycle of replacements.
And the hats will be built in for the next time.
Yes,
Seems
that
like it
seems
was
to be
kind of-
the most reasonable place to put them. Yep, so that's one budget planning tool that needs to happen this year.
And thank you. Craig, you're the assistant chief, correct?
Correct.
So I know RJ's told me a couple stories about the communication problems you had, but do you yourself feel that it is needed to have this repeater, and can you see where it could benefit you guys down the road?
Absolutely. I've been involved in a couple of communications with the oil. As a crow flies, we're talking, maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles, and you can't communicate with either hand, either radio. You have to walk to the truck and actually the truck, because it has a higher output than your hand. And I've also witnessed it, not running the seat, but as being on the seat, I've also seen it in different places in some water rolled out here. And to reiterate what RJ says, it's more concerning not being able to talk in oil for a safety purpose. God forbid, a citizen go down, but we have a firefighter go down, and we have no way of communicating. That's a bad situation. So to answer your question, yes, it is highly needed for this area.
So with this repeater, you said it won't hit all the areas, but that's just with the handheld. The truck will still be able to hit all the areas you guys go to when we have this repeater up, right? So you will 100% have at least some sort of contact, or are we gonna need some later on down the road, some kind of repeater or something put on a truck to boost one of the trucks up so there's 100% always having contact?
Good question, kind of a loaded question. I won't go as far as saying we will have 100% through a combination of methods, because there's terrain issues in our most distant response areas. You know, you start heading out of Belvedere towards Montgomery and stuff, that terrain topography is just a monster to try to get back through to Hyde Park. So what we currently have is we do have a mobile repeater. We have a truck repeater now that we can take our handheld, which is our smallest output radio, we can pass it through the truck and boost it up. The truck radios have a cap of 100 watts. There are still places that terrain wise, we just can't get out, just like a place where you won't be able to get out on a cell phone. If you ever were successful enough to be able to build 100% network, it would take multiple repeaters, right? You take your area and you'd have quadrants and, you know, they'd be directional. And we were not going to be able to afford to do that. You know, 10 years ago, it was 25 to 50,000 to develop a site. We're axing that out by using an existing site. You know, now we're looking at $20,000 worth of equipment. So to set up multiple spots at 75 or 100,000 is just not doable. So we're gonna have to do the best we can. This is, you know, a really strong improvement. And, you know, we're 90% better for Johnson. We're 80% better in the outlying areas. We do have the equipment to go from our smallest step to a mid step, but then if we just can't make it in the total distance, we're hoping that the height of land antenna of that tower now will pick it up and send it again. So we tried to build in the other options, so they were not necessarily starting from scratch. We will have a really good radio system, but I won't go so far to say 100%.
But it would be tremendously better than what we have right now. Like,
Absolutely. Yep. So with that same equipment that we have with our strongest radios, and we have been in Waterville and stuff and not been able to get out, we switched to the Hyde Park channel. We've hit that tower site. So there's indications that this will work with, you know, with our channel too. Also.
I mean, you couldn't possibly expect it to work on the bog road unless it was a repeater on the other side of that area.
Right, yeah, on the bog road. So there are places that we can actually hit that repeater. I've done it before. But now you're starting to pick out things that are so terrain restricted.
Yep, that's what I was getting at. You're gonna have an area like that that's covered by this mountain.
Right. So what would be a success would be if we had a site that we knew we could get at, and now we added to our list all these places that we knew we could get to. We at least can go from an incident site to a real quick or a real short spot that we know they can get out, right? We don't have to leave Belvedere and make it halfway to Johnson to call for help. We can just get them. So we'll be able to develop that as well. We don't have the opportunity without a tower midstream.
So what you're saying is the department would eventually go right around and figure out there's that areas in certain areas where you know you can get to this spot and make communication.
Yep, we would do that, and in our back pocket was still the second channel, the Hyde Park channel, right? So you got two different options to try to do. They're good about if they're out on an incident and we need to jump on their channel, they're fine with it. We can't take it over, but they do this. We do the same for them. If they're in a place where they're having trouble, they'll jump on our channel to get a priority message out, and then they'll clear the air and go back to their space.
And I'm assuming we'd allow them also.
Absolutely.
Would it have been more ideal if your tower was in Johnson, or would that make a difference?
Not necessarily. There are a few places in Johnson that are a little bit higher that might have a little stronger coverage, but they don't have any sort of structure or power supply.
I was thinking the college up on the hill and stuff.
Yeah,
That's what went through my head just there.
So absolutely, we've actually talked with the college in the past, public safety and stuff. This particular site is even higher in elevation. It actually looks down.
Actually, I was thinking about your house.
Yep.
Or my house,
Yep.
either one, you know?
Yep. Clay Hill area, getting up a little bit higher, seems to be some target areas. So we talked a little bit about that, but we just never had the money to try to go pursue.
And there's no structure there already.
Right.
That alone is.
Plus permanent and all that.
Isn't there a new, some kind of tower being built up at the college,
There's a
Cell
cell
tower.
tower. They put it.
and you can't use
It's probably
that
not
kind
the
of
same
cell.
height.
Right, so the equipment is different, whether they would even allow us to try to install our equipment on their. on
Mike
their
was just
tower.
here, you could
I don't,
have done them. Added one more thing.
And who does this help the most? Which town?
Johnson. Absolutely. Johnson by far, if you'd like to look at the coverage map, you can. So this is a map of the tower site. That target is where it is in Johnson, where you have these greens and yellows, those are your strongest signal. All of Johnson has a real strong map area.
Could you email that to us? Or?
I try to.
Well, to me, RJ, it's basically pretty simple. We already trust you guys
Exactly.
to know what equipment is best for you, because you are the ones that use it, so I don't see any difference in this issue either.
Yeah, it's just
So-
interesting to get all the
And
information.
I think your plan is sound for the financing of it, and it's only a small risk with the 1,000, right? And
That's correct.
and that might even come in useful if you end up citing somewhere else, right? I mean, you gotta kind of get the license to get things started anyway, right?
Right, so
So-
that will give us a response to our theory. And if we decide that this isn't the appropriate site, we want to look at something else, maybe, we can do so, but. Right now, the risk is the 1,000, but it can be absorbed, so essentially the project right now has zero obligation.
So I would put my full support.
So once we get a license, that license for say, Alan Manchester gets a spot up behind his house. That license would still be okay to use in a different location, or is it just for that one site?
The way I understand it, the analysis is for the output at the site, so if we wanted to transfer our license to another site, we would essentially have to generate the coverage map and make sure that neighboring agencies, which they're telling me the hardest one is actually Canada, they don't have a problem with our signal and with our usage interfering with their stuff.
Well, that's all. They tell me I'm in Canada every time I go to Canada.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Really interesting. And
I-
clearly you guys are all on the same page.
You see no issue with them finding it?
I think it's a good idea.
Do we need a motion for this, Rosemary, or is it just consensus?
Consensus.
I'm all for it. I think they did a great job in the presentation, and I'd like to thank the officers that helped our do that. That was.
I'm for it.
I am too.
Sure.
You got a unanimous support here.
And
So
it's
thank you.
super interesting to get all the details on everything. It's all like a foreign language.
It was for
But
us.
you did
when
a
we-
good job.
It was for
Three of
us
you
when
know
we
what you're talking
started.
about. Huh?
It was foreign for us when we started too.
I'm glad I asked that question.
See, and they say they can't teach an old
Yeah.
dog new tricks. Look at that.
Thanks for your time.
We will keep you posted.
Great.
All right, thank you.
And I do appreciate all you guys help doing it. I know you don't pay to do this. I know you got a lot of time involved.
All right, nice.
Thanks, guys.
So. Could ask them to do the fire department report, but I forgot to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said, okay. I'm
And they
not-
got up and ran. They're like, "We can do fair time."
Johnson Fire Department report. Johnson Fire Department responded to 9 calls. 5 calls occurred during the daytime. 4 calls occurred during nighttime. Average duration is 59 minutes. Those calls were 3 automatic alarms, 4 vehicle crash, 1 medical assist, and 1 mutual aid. The average number of firefighters that responded was 10. Total hours of service was 77. Engine 2 has completed annual service and state inspection at Porter's Repair in Cambridge. The letter of intent with Capital City GMC for the replacement of Rescue 2 has been terminated due to increased price at the time of delivery and the dealership not honoring the original agreement. We are reevaluating current options and intend to report back. Respectfully submitted, RJ West Fire Chief. And now I have the electric report I will read. Prepared by Troy Dolan, the crew completed the following tasks: finished the primary underground line extension and 200 amp secondary service at 335 Plot Road. Started the overhead line transfer on the pole that feeds the new sewer pump station on River Road West. Transferred the wires on 2 primary overhead poles on Sinclair Road to new poles. Completed all work for the EV charging stations at the Jolly Store. Responded to an outage at 851 Route 15 West. The cause was an overloaded transformer. The fuse was changed and power was restored. Worked with the electrical contractor at 1066 Route 100C to upgrade the secondary service from 100 to 200 amps. Disconnected service at 664 Gould Hill Road so the house could be demolished. Continued in-house right-of-way cutting, completed monthly meter reading, high-low checks, substation check, and dig safes. Water sewer, the crew completed the following tasks: responded to a water leak at 333 Katy Wynn. The issue was on Ship 7 park owner's service. Responded to a water leak at 252 Lower Main West. The water was turned off on Thursday, September 1st, and was turned back on Tuesday, September 6th. The leak was beyond the curb stop and was the homeowner's responsibility. General Department, the crew completed the following tasks: painted all the graffiti on the Pearl Street light bases, worked to clean up the village green, worked with the town cutting trees on Mac Budget Drive. The crew attended the August NEPA safety training. The topic of the training was hotline work methods. Administrative, Troy completed the following administrative tasks: worked with the electrical contractor for the Jolly EV project to complete the village's portion of the project. A true up for the project will be completed once we have received an invoice for the metering services that were provided by Morrisville Water and Light. Corresponded with the property owner on River Road West and his engineer regarding water and wastewater permits for planned new construction. Worked with the property owner of 664 Gould Hill to coordinate removal of the existing electrical service and completed an estimate for a new 200 amp secondary underground service. Completed an estimate for electric service for a new home on 288 Sinclair Road. Made arrangements with the meter technician at Morrisville Water and Light to complete the metering for the EV charges at the Jolly Store. I also discussed with the meter tech the costs related to the new 15-minute metering being requested at VSU. Completed a true up for the primary underground line extension at 335 Plot Road. Created 2 invoices for mutual aid help that the Village of Johnson crew provided to the Village of Hyde Park Water and Light. Requested quotes from suppliers for needed inventory for the electric department and transformers. Completed the monthly invoice coding. Continued speaking with Nate on a daily basis to discuss scheduled work and answer any questions.
How is Nate feeling about the whole thing?
I think he's getting more comfortable. I'm going to let Eric have that detailed discussion with him though when he starts next week.
And does he know or did he talk to you about the meter, the costs related to the 15-minute metering thing?
Yes, he doesn't, Nate does not know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping that Ken Nolan would be here tonight so like the 2 of them could meet face to face and Ken could explain everything to us. But now that's been postponed to our October meeting.
I know at the last meeting, they were supposed to get back to us about how much the meter might cost.
Well, there's an estimate in my email today, but I don't really understand it because it's actually 3 different estimates, so I don't know if it's, according to Nate, they're less expensive than he thought they were gonna be. They range from about 600, the least expensive one is 600 and the most expensive one is about 800. Now, I don't know if we need all 3 or if they're just giving us a choice. I know nothing about it.
Okay.
But when I first heard about it, I had heard that it could be several $1,000s.
I heard 3.
So when I saw that it was under 1,000, I mean, it's still, so I think the people that know what's going on need to explain a lot to us.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Where are we at with the agenda?
I think we're on the flag policy.
Flag policy. You brought this up,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
BJ?
So, it seems like every year what we're running into, it gets brought up to us a couple times a year to put the flags on the fire department on a municipal building. It turns into a crap show where the news gets into it, the newspapers get into it, and the outcome is always the same, that we don't do it. So I would like to have a flag banner policy that says we do not put anything on the municipal building or fire department unless it's a American flag or a Vermont flag.
Well, you'd have to have the fire department flag, I guess, on their pole.
Yeah, that's their flag. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to say about it?
Well, I thought we were going to meet with the select board to discuss a flag policy.
We are a
That's-
general flag policy. This is directly to these buildings and that's it. This is not a flag policy for the town or everything else.
Right.
This building.
Yeah, but we can still hold this as our board saying, when it comes to us, no, this is a policy for us. We're saying that where
You don't think it should be a joint thing?
they can have theirs,
Yeah, but what if they say yes and we say no, and then they put a flag up and we've already said
They
no?
can't.
they can.
Well, there you go. That's why it needs to be a joint.
That's why,
policy.
no, it doesn't need to be a joint. It can be us saying from our board, we are sick of 2-3 times a year being dragged through the mud. We are gonna have a policy that says on that building or this building from the trustee board, we only want the American flag or the state flag.
I think you're causing division. I think doing that, I think not including the select board and having it be a joint vote is causing.
But we have a division anyways, and we both vote anyways, opposite of each other anyways on every
No.
single
We
thing.
do.
I would just like to throw out one thing. I don't know how to read it when both boards have said no for the past 3 years.
Well, that's why I think it should be, I think when we meet as a group, that should be brought up then, when both boards are meeting and then voted on it.
But we don't do all of our
So, again,
votes
what
off
happens
them.
if- Yeah, but I'm saying this building is jointly owned, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so say we say yes to something and they say no,
which has happened.
so who wins?
It's always gonna be the no,
Why?
because that's just the way
It's gotta be.
it is. It has to be a yes by both, has to be unanimously yes or it's a no.
That makes no
I
sense.
think-
That's exactly how it is.
Also, I just, the select board have already started their process of making their own policy also.
For what, but, oh, they have for
Yes.
this, believe it or not,
Yeah.
Beth and I do not have these
Yeah.
discussions.
I know.
No, that's all right.
Well,
No,
The point was is that they've already had their own discussions on it and they're working on their own policy. So
Right, but
Yeah,
I
They
think,
they weren't concerned with having a mutual agreement with us when they started.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's such a division again.
but
Yeah,
there's
and
no
I-
division. We always have, no matter what, all of our votes are separate. Every single time somebody
Not when
comes,
it
it
comes to a
is,
jointly owned building.
it is. if somebody wants something on this building, it will have to go to the select board, they'll have to vote on it, comes to us, we vote on it, we do not get together and vote as one crew on that thing. They go to them, they go to us, if one of us says no, then it's a no.
But this is a
I think
policy.
BJ might be right on that part
On
of it,
that part.
where if one says no, that's all you need. But
But we have
I
never voted
think-
together in any of those, when it comes to a flag, we do not have us saying, say the last racial justice, say, for the pride flag. It was,
They went to the select board and they were told no, and then they came to us and asked us and we told them.
yeah, it's
So-
two separate entities, it's two separate votes, it's not one. We're just saying from our voting standpoint, this is gonna be a no for our voting standpoint. That's all we're saying. We're not telling them what they can do. We're saying from us, this is gonna be our policy for our board, like they do theirs. They create policies for the board that we're not part of.
I would like to be a part of their flag policy and have the
But they didn't
same
invite you.
policy. Well,
That's their board.
I think they are trying to get a meeting where we meet, the trustees and the select board meet.
But I don't
And
believe
that
it's for
is
the,
one of the things we're going to be
if I
talking
remember
about.
right, that meeting is for employee stuff and all that. It's not for the
there's
flag.
There was
policy.
a
there's
whole
quite
bunch-
a variety of topics
Yeah.
on
Oh,
it.
is there?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was for discussion.
So I think we should work together on that and have it be the same for this building.
So if they vote, if they say, no, we don't want to go this route,
We'll see what the policy ends up being. We can't say right now because we haven't gotten together and discussed it.
so,
Well, we
So
could.
So on policies, we wanna-
They could adopt it.
so you're saying from now on policies, we need to go with the select board, anything to deal with a joint building, we don't have our own say. We've got to meet up with the select board and do it as a group, which we've never done before. We have not done it before. They've done their own policies. We've done our own policies for mutual buildings. Heck, look at the banner, or look at the mural. There was no team there. They had theirs, we had ours.
I think if we have one policy for the select board and the trustees, that group will have to come to both. We will have the same policy. And I think that makes it much easier for everybody.
But we can have our policy and they can adopt it.
I want to see what they have for policy, because I think there are different things out there that we could possibly buy into.
Okay, and you know what, and I'm fine with that, but no matter what, if their policy says with this building or that building, I want to put something else besides the American flag.
They can't allow anything on the fire department to start with. That's it.
Okay, so municipal building.
And that's really what this all boils down to.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
mean,
these two
so
buildings.
Kelly, you
I
have
think
something you
we
want to
should
say?
just wait.
Yeah, so just as a resident of the people here.
One of the few.
I just wanted to say, I actually like the idea. But I do think it would lend itself to maybe greater working together of the town and the village if that was the first route to take. It doesn't negate the fact that then you could go to the next meeting, like to say, you know, well, we didn't like that process and we went to put this back on the table for this.
Well, my issue is that, and you know, and I like that, but when they're doing their flag policy and we're not even a part of it, and they're discussing it and going through the process and we're not even a part of it, like, we shouldn't sit back, let them do their policy and say, hey, guys, this is our policy, what we come up with. Would you like to adopt it to your side? Why can't we be the ones to create a policy and have them adopt it to their side?
And at the same time, if we did create a policy, nothing said that we couldn't change it.
Amend
If
it.
the purpose of what you want to do is to stop the argument about it, it doesn't seem like it's going to accomplish that purpose to me.
Yeah,
Well,
100%
they're
will.
not gonna come to our board and ask us that anymore because it's gonna be policy now.
They will 100% stop that, 100%, because they can't, if they come to the board, we have a policy saying, no, you cannot have anything up on a municipal building except for this. That stops that controversy right there, like, we have a policy against it.
I'd also like just to throw out there, like I said, last week, has been a Supreme Court decision. Says, you're gonna fly one, you're gonna fly them all.
But you can do policy where
I just want,
the mission of the town is really important for what flies. And those are the policies that I want to bring to the table for the select board and the trustees.
actually, the mission you want to bring forward is the one that you just keep repeating over and over. You haven't even considered
It
any
would
other
be,
option.
it
That's
would
all
be
I'm saying.
policy.
I finished speaking. You haven't considered any other option. You yourself has seen the boards, both the select board and the trustee board for the last 3 years, all say no every time, and have not wavered on that, because this is a building of the people. At the last meeting, I made it plain and clear to the Racial Justice and Equity Alliance Committee that they can petition the town and the village to have this, and they can make us say yes. And they will not do that. They have not done that. They have been told to do that for 3 years because it won't pass. So the simple procedure for us to do is to protect everybody, not the few that want certain things to happen, is to make a simple policy that said we're not flying banners and we're not flying any flags on these buildings besides the American flag and the state of Vermont flag. That's simple procedure. It's nothing out of the ordinary. And there's nothing that says we couldn't make special exceptions if there's a townwide community event that requires it.
And I'm just, and my thing is we get dragged through the mud 2-3 times a year, newspapers and Channel 3 News on this. The outcome's always the same, and this can stop that because, oh, we have a policy against this. There's no controversy, there's no arguing, there's no fighting over it, there's no.
Would be nice. I could do that. I'm not
that's
sure if it will or not.
But you know what? But how can it not? I mean, they won't come to us because we have a policy against it. There's no coming to us. There's no arguing amongst the board. It's, okay, we have a policy. We don't put that up. Done. Why not try it? We've been without a policy and we get controversy every year. Why not try it for the next year or two with a policy and see if it does stop it? And if it doesn't stop it, okay, we have to figure something out. But if it does, it worked.
My only concern is, again, it's a jointly owned building and equally joint. It's not the same as where the mural went.
Yeah.
The mural was owned by and used by one.
No, it's equally joint.
It's
The mural is
equally
equal
owned,
to- yeah.
but
They stretch
one-
the agreement.
one group uses that building exclusively.
But when we do
That
votes
makes
for
a
this,
difference.
but when we do votes for this building, we do not come together as 2 different entities
There
and
hasn't been
discuss
any
it.
decisions made, and
There's
nothing
decisions all the
about this
time
building?
with this building. Yeah, anything that goes with this building besides flags.
Well, I can-
They come to 2 different. Go ahead.
The select board had a mask policy 3 months longer than we. Really, it's simple fact.
We
of
didn't
the
come
matter-
together as a group
Simple fact of the matter is they started a policy themselves months ago.
without asking us.
for the mask.
Yes.
No, they started a policy for the flag and banner policy for the municipal building a month ago. Without inviting us to it. So they feel that they should be doing exactly what we're doing because they're sick and tired of the same questions over and over and over.
Well, I think Steve should connect with Beth.
Yeah.
And they should cross-reference,
Yeah.
and that we have.
You do
uniform-
realize.
But they've already started. We're
We
separate.
are,
Okay.
but you know what, there's
We
so
can
much
still-
division in this town.
But this is a division that's supposed to be there. They're 2 separate boards. It's not a division of an anger division. It's a division of, it's literally 2 separate boards.
It is.
They're taking the town, we're taking a village, we're doing what we need for the village. We're not gonna go run into the town and say, hey, you guys are doing a policy, can we be a part of it? I know you've been doing it for the past month or 2 and coming to it and haven't asked us, but we can't do our own because we want to be a part of yours. Like, even with the flag policy or the masks, they had theirs, it was not even asked of us. They
That's a
put,
meeting, that's not a building.
that was a building, they had it
That's their-
downstairs. No,
That's their,
but it's
oh, for
It's all,
downstairs.
yeah, it was all in the same place for me and the girls downstairs. And that's the thing, it's the same building, but they're looking out for theirs, we're looking out for ours. And this is just us protecting us. If they want to adopt it, which they may, because they're
So what
looking
would
into it
you
right
do
now.
What would you do if three of us said, yes, we will allow banners on the building?
I have no choice but to
You'd
let
have
it
to
because,
allow, then it's gonna go to the select board, no matter what.
yeah, and if they voted yes, then they're on the building and we have no say. That's what we're doing. That's why we have this many people on the board. If we vote yes, say you three say, you know what, no, we don't want to go that route. We want something. Go to the select board, they say yes, it's on. They go to the select board and they say no, we can't do it. Because we have to have 2 yeses on both boards to do this.
So let's do a policy where we have the same policy, the select board does, and
The select board can adopt ours if they like ours. Ours is
I
black and
think-
white.
I
The select
think-
board, I've been following them. They're doing their policy and
What does their
everything.
policy say?
No, that's what they're working on. They're looking into the Supreme
so
Court.
let's get together with them and do a
We
policy.
don't need to do what the town does. We are not
I'm
sitting
not
there to
saying-
do, town, tell us what to do, please.
So what you want
I'm
to
not
do is just say
saying that.
absolutely no, period.
This
And
is-
it's 100% no on 2 buildings. I'm not even saying, we're not talking about the town, we're not talking about the village green, we're not talking about, it's these 2 buildings, which is a fight every single year, multiple times a year. Let's stop that fight, black and white. No, you cannot have it on these 2 buildings, done. If they want to adopt it, fine. If they don't want to adopt it, they have all that right because that's their board. Our board does not have to go by their board. Our board has our own decisions
Well, we
and
negate whatever their policy is. If we make that our policy,
No, it has to be, 2 supporting it, both have to support it. If
Yeah,
they,
so let's see what they have
So
to
if we
say.
said
That's all I'm
again, let's
saying.
see what they have to say.
We don't have to
Without
act like
making-
that, right? Like, they don't come to you and ask that, and that's probably unfair on their part, but we can act in,
yeah.
in a
No,
bigger-
and I get that, but I shouldn't have to bring this to the board and all here, oh, let's ask the town select board, let's ask the town select board. Why can't we- They're in the process of doing theirs.
Yeah.
They're in the process of doing theirs.
Hey,
you here for the meeting?
Am I in the right place?
I don't know, you here for a meeting? Trustee meeting?
Come here, we put an application for the rock wagon.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, yeah,
You're in the right place,
right
you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Yay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. Like to make a motion that we develop a policy against flags and banners on the municipal building, the fire department. With no exceptions.
I second.
Any more discussion on that motion?
Yes, so if we vote this policy in
Mhm.
and the select board says yes to somebody putting a banner up, it makes no difference, they can't do it
They
because
cannot do it.
they've already said no,
Correct.
That's correct.
then that's not.
But it's the same with, if we said yes and they said no.
I don't, it doesn't
They're
matter.
they're doing a policy right now
I
and
know,
they
but
could
I wanna
say,
see their policy.
and they could say no. Okay, granted, we're not a part of that policy. They could say no without even asking us, without even talking to us. They could say no, and no matter if we said yes, it's the other way around. We're just doing the same thing they're doing and coming to our own conclusion. Okay, you know what? This
So we're
is,
throwing their policy out the window,
It's not our policy.
it's not
but
our,
their policy will mean nothing.
their policy will mean something to
Have
them.
you seen their policy?
Like our policy
but
will
I'm
mean
saying-
something.
Did you watch the meeting where they talked about it?
I'm just listening what
I know, I'm just
BJ's
asking
telling
you.
me. No, because I don't, anyway,
Right.
that's another story. So I'm saying.
Look at it from us. We're not doing townwide. We're doing this building, okay? This building has caused so much
I
controversy.
know, I agree.
Why don't we just, we have the capability to just stop being bashed in the news every year, a few times a year, just by saying, you know what, on this building, not the town, not the village green, not other buildings, on this building, there should only be a flag, an American flag, well, besides the fire department too. These
Well,
two
my gut is
buildings,
telling me that it's a slap in the face to the select board and.
but they're doing it to us, so that's kind of a slap in the face to us.
They're,
Well, it's not,
they are
honestly,
saying-
I don't even look at it as a slap in the face because they're doing what they're doing because they're there for the town. we're here for the village, we're here, there for the town. They're not looking at it as slap in our face because it really isn't, because they have that right to do their own
What if they
policy.
wanted to say yes to something? I don't, what if they wanted to say yes to the waffle wagon, putting,
I think we
oh, we're
need
open.
That's
That's us.
That's
No,
getting.
no, I'm talking about on this building.
No, no,
So.
We're not
you said
allowing
no,
nothing.
they-
nothing.
I know, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. What if they wanted to put something that's really benign up?
But that's the thing, we have never, in both of the boards have never said yes. That's what I'm saying right now. We have fought with,
I
had so many
understand,
fights.
I
The
understand
boards
that.
have never said yes together in this town. Every board has always said no with this building. They've always said no. So why can't we just cement it and get it over with and just be done?
So if you've been following their thing, what does their policy so far, what does it say?
It's wishy-washy. It's all, we gotta do this and we gotta figure this out and we gotta figure this out and we gotta do this.
It's
It's
not,
but it's flat too.
it's not necessarily easy because
It is easy.
the topic.
No flags, done.
No,
So-
not if you want those flags to fly at some point. And
You
so
can, if
I
you wanna
think,
turn it,
let me finish.
okay,
I think that you can have a discussion with the board. People bring different ideas and possibly the majority feels that it's okay. And that is all I want. I want the select board and the trustees to come together, not just on that topic, but a lot of other topics, and decide what we want to do with the buildings that we own.
and we are, and with this, and you, like you just said, well, what happens later on down the road? You know what, we could have a different committee a year from now who ends up policy. Like,
You
there-
could also-
this is not
You could also file a petition yourself to the town of Johnson to get it changed.
this is not something that's like 100%, as soon as we do it, it can never be overturned. That's just not correct. But I would like to see it there for a few years and see it in place and like try to stop all the backlash that we get. And like I said, I understand we are friends, we are good with the select board, but they understand, they do their policies, we do our policies. We don't have to go off them, they don't have to go off us. They're not going off us. Why do we have to like get their permission? Like, I know you don't look at it that way,
No, I look at
but
it.
if they're doing it different,
I'm a
they're,
consensus person. I'm not, like, I'm doing it my way.
but we're
I
not
wanna-
two people that are consensus. We are two different entities. We are a town and a village for the best interest of our people. And that's why we're hired. I mean, I can't say no more.
I understand.
I know, yeah.
Personally, I'd like to change the whole direction of this whole thing. I'm willing to vote with you guys, but I don't, because the Black Lives Matter flag is symbolic. I would like to put our energy into more concrete things like this initiative that's come across for helping encourage people in Johnson to there was a thing, I forgot the title of it, but it's something that would be much less symbolic and more real to me, and put our energy into that and not into this fight that doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere about the flag itself, because it's just symbols, and I don't think it's people have their opinions, and I don't think it's going to change anybody really. That's my own opinion.
No, it's not gonna change anybody. So what if you want to put a sign up that said hunter safety class?
It's the
here,
same thing. I think
you wouldn't be able to do that.
no. A sign saying hunter safety class is different than a flag.
Yeah, if they're having a hunter safety class here, and you're saying hunter safety class here, voting here, something that's happening here, and you're letting people know it's
Flag
here,
on the
that's different.
flagpole, I
Oh,
think
the
it's different.
flagpole is different.
Yes.
Or on the
So,
building.
just my
Are you
last
talking,
comment.
is this a flagpole or the building you're talking about?
Building and flagpole for these two
Either.
buildings.
All right.
Either. Any of it.
So,
But
I'll make one last comment, that you said you like to go with consensus. Consensus the last 3 years has been no.
But I think you should
You
work with the select
participated
board.
in many of them meetings. And it was,
I haven't been
I
in
don't
any
think there's any harm.
it was a
Working
resounding
together.
no every time, and it was a resounding no the
Okay.
last time they asked to fly the pride flag. So I just want to make one, I am the one who has been motioning for the BLM flag to go up, for the pride flag to go up at the Village Green every time. I am 100% for it. And I'm gonna state this for the last time, and I'm never gonna say it again. File a petition, somebody. Make us do it.
Well, I'm not.
Don't have a small group of people keep coming here asking us to decide for all the residents. You can make us do something with a petition. It's been told that.
That's
for-
not my argument.
No.
At the
Well, that's
moment,
my
that's not
argument.
my.
And you know what,
argument.
and if the town comes up with a policy and we're like, you know what, I like a part of that, we can always adopt that and amend our policy. But I'd just like to have something in place, so it's in place and we have it. And then let the town do theirs, and if we feel, you know what, let's amend our policy to adopt their policy, because we like that better. We have the right, it's not set in stone, but I want to put something out there because they've been on a policy, their flag policy for a while, and it's kind of like that, we're like.
Well, they're dotting their i's and crossing.
And
their
that's
t's.
fine, but to me, it's, there's no i's to be dotted, no t's to be crossed, there shouldn't be nothing on this building or the fire department. And the past 3 or 4 years has been proof to that, and I'm sick of getting dragged through the mud, sorry.
That's-
Okay, everyone has had,
So I've seconded
Okay.
it. I've seconded it.
any other discussion? Call the question. Diane,
No.
Linda,
No.
BJ,
I,
Ken. I'm gonna vote, no. I'm gonna vote for the, no, not putting. I'm gonna vote with you guys to, if that was confusing, I'm voting to,
You confused me. I thought you voted no against the policy.
no, I'm
For the two
voting
votes.
for
Voting
this
for the
policy.
policy.
So there's no flags, no anything on these buildings.
Right,
These two.
except for the 3 flags that are there now,
so the policy passes.
the policy passes.
Okay, so we'd have to have something written up in more of a proper legal form, I'm assuming.
Eric,
Well, he'll jump all.
Duty
he'll
number
be on
2.
that.
something black and white.
No, he'll be on it.
All right, item number 2, making the village clerk and treasurer and assistant clerk and treasurer
You want to
appointed
do the waffle
position.
wagon first?
Yeah.
Oh,
these
okay.
people want them.
Waffle wagon,
Well,
you're up, please introduce yourselves,
Yeah.
I don't know you.
Tag
Could
her in.
you
Come
come up?
closer so Donna can hear you.
You're on Zoom, so they need to be able to hear you.
You can sit, do you want to sit in the chairs?
Yeah, you don't have to stand there.
I'm hoping I don't
Yeah,
flash
no,
back.
This is gonna be.
When we-
I wear my suit today.
Stop.
Wear my
You
baseball
fit
hat.
right in, you're perfect.
All right, hi, I'm Charlotte. This is Kevin,
Hello.
Hi.
and we own Waffle Wagon.
Right.
We started it last year.
Uh-huh.
We mainly do events,
Mm-hmm.
so we travel, we've done Tuesday Night
Yeah,
Live
Tuesday
for the
Night Live.
last 2 years. We got Wednesday Night Live in Marshall, we do Jericho Farmers Market on Thursdays, stuff on the weekends. Our hometown is Johnson, like I live on the border, I live Waterville, Johnson,
And I live right there.
yeah.
The brick building next to the church.
And we're trying to find a spot that's a little bit closer to home. You know, to set up, do something a little more of a permanent setup instead of doing as
Are
much
you gonna be
traveling next
open?
year.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be. a
Oh, good.
big
Can we talk
plus.
about that?
That would be a really. big
Well, in
plus.
addition to like being open and available, we like also have diverse food too.
Yeah.
So we want to provide something different, but also not step on any toes.
So we won't step on toes because those guys are never open.
And this
Every
is,
once in a while.
and this is Monday and Tuesday, you're gonna be
Well, we
open?
just put those,
Perfect.
we put those numbers or the days down, because right now that was March, April.
Well, nobody's open on Monday.
Well, exactly, nobody from I mean, almost all the way from Essex. All the way
Yeah.
to-
So are you asking to be a third vendor there on
We
the
weren't
green?
sure what was going on with Pizza on Main, because they weren't open, and then sometimes we drive past, they weren't there. So we weren't sure, when we put that application in, it was one of those days they were not there. So we thought they had packed up and.
Yeah, they took their trailer up for a day and then they. brought
They,
it back.
I think he went to an event
Yeah,
and he was open the day before here, but,
okay,
and I had heard that he was having staffing problems and then he got staff to run it.
yeah,
We staff it ourselves. We're the owners and the only staff, so we would,
Yeah.
rely on what has to happen.
I do not remember the dates when either the coffee shop or Pizza on Main was gonna not be there.
Do we have an agreement with them, Rosemary?
Yeah,
yeah.
That ends on a certain date?
I thought it was October
I thought that's
for
October.
Pizza on Main.
So the only reason I'm saying this is we're only allowed 2 in the village. green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our truck is pretty big, so we couldn't really be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we only allow 2 spots, so
Yeah.
it doesn't take up the whole green.
Yeah,
So I guess if we could contact one of the other 2 and find out if they're, or I guess Rosemary, if she could find out. But I have no issues whatsoever with anybody being there, but we do only allow 2. So we couldn't kick them out, because they are paying whether they're open or not.
I know,
Are
I
they?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Remember, we changed
Yeah,
it instead of just window open to change it to.
To every day.
Every
They're
day.
better
If the
just
truck
to
is
let
there,
You
they're
guys
charged.
know that, unless you,
yeah,
you know, if you were gonna be there Monday and Tuesday, like I said, unless you pulled your thing out the other days, you will be charged if you leave it there.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
But I have no issues with
as
it.
long as that someone is either paying or just pulling out each time.
But that still leaves them in a spot because Pizza on Main's vehicle is there whether they're open or not.
Well, we can't
But
work.
they're paying whether
But they're
they're
paying,
open or
right.
not.
So, let me ask you,
It's first come, first.
do
served.
we have the 2 because of logistic reasons, or are we able to have?
There isn't room there.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
all, 2 is already crowding it a little bit.
Okay, yeah. He was actually more than what I think we really wanted for a trailer in there, so.
And your thing is about the size of Pizza on Main's truck,
It is
roughly
about the same.
speaking,
Yeah,
way
it's a-
bigger than front door coffee, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a 74 Winnebago Mini Winnie,
74.
so it's
yeah.
very pleasing to the eye, but it's very large.
It's an antique.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
we're bringing it back.
Yeah.
So when are the other ones open? Have you seen them open?
I've seen Pizza on Main.
Yeah, he was open Saturday.
Yes, exactly. And that's
But
all
he
I've
hadn't
seen.
been open for a long time before that.
Yep. And what about the other one? Are they pretty
Frontier
well?
Oh, he's there every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red Tip Coffee also is like, they're also like, the staff is great, like the product is great, they're very consistent.
I think we're gonna have to get back to you.
Hang on, just 1 second.
Yeah.
Do you need power to have your operation?
Yes,
So when you do other spots, you're using the generator.
yes.
Okay, so I was gonna suggest, Rosemary pointed out that we also say that the parking spots in front of the green could also be used.
On the road?
But we also don't allow generators,
Generators.
so they're gonna need power, they would need to be in a power location, and then we're the only 2 locations on the green. So I guess if.
So
Yeah,
they
because
put
we
back
can't
on
have
the
a
road?
cord cross,
But
no,
they
we
can't
can't have a
power.
cord
If they were
crossing the sidewalk.
self-contained, Didn't need power, we can't allow them to use generators, because it was very noisy.
The noise.
Right, right.
So I guess if we looked in to see when the pizza, either one of the other ones were gonna leave, according to what they said. Coffee place was pretty much out beginning of October last year, weren't they?
Yeah, but
I
they're
think they all pretty
they were
much
pretty
failed
small.
then. No,
It's
I'm just
cold,
saying, I'm
everybody's
just saying
small.
that was a spot, but that.
They're all gone by middle of October.
How late do you guys run?
Kind of weather dependent, like the truck runs nice on a dry day, but once the snow hits,
Yeah.
Well, the snow can't.
yeah.
I mean, lately the snow's been hitting November-ish.
Now, isn't the spot done?
It's totally
late October?
unpredictable.
The application said the October 31st.
October 30th.
That's when we stopped.
Let's stop.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if they're fully like intending to
So we
then,
could always
through the end of that
contact Pizza on
time,
Main and just
we would
say,
just like
"What
have
is
our
your
name in
intention?
even for next year.
They're not gonna be open.
So it's first come, first
Because we
served.
intend
Yeah,
on
well,
doing the
that's what I'm
truck.
saying.
So you guys
Next
want to
year.
show up right
This
now in the
application
spring?
for,
And next
For next
year,
year,
to be
yeah.
truthful, if Jenna's Promise was up and running, some of us might be more reluctant to approve front door coffee because,
Conflict with them.
but if you guys are something totally different, and that's, you know, because if the woman that owns Downtown Pizza wants to be up, I would favor her, for instance, over the Pizza on Main guys, because she's paying
Local.
taxes.
We did have that discussion when we were raising the price, that shouldn't be any competitive with the brick and mortar. So you're 100% correct in that.
So is this your application for next spring? So first
Well,
one's
that's
in?
what we were.
You change the date on it, right?
That's what I said, when we put the application in, we didn't see them there. And we
Yeah.
Didn't see them open for a while, so we assumed that they had left.
Right.
We're
It
like,
looked like that,
"Okay,
I
we're gonna
agree
send
with
this
you.
in," and then the next day they were back again, we're like.
Do you know how long your vehicle is?
It's
20.
25, 24,
yeah,
25.
somewhere.
Okay, and
And we serve out the back window.
and you guys have storage for your wastewater.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have a hookup as far as, I don't think there's actual plug-in over there. You would have to have an electrician hook you to that post that's there, am I correct, Steve?
Yes, I don't think there's a plug-in.
So, and I don't think we'll allow a plug-in because that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when was it moved or not moved? What was the other place that was there before the pizza?
oh,
on Main?
Mudgee's.
Mudgee's.
Oh, Mudgee's.
They paid for their power wire to our service and then took it with them and they left. So that may
could be-
happen again with Pizza on Main or even the coffee shop. So that would be something you'd actually prepare for.
So this is a hardwire situation then?
It would be hardwired.
Hardwired.
So I don't,
So let me ask you, they take.
So it would be
they take that
expensive
out
for you
and
guys
buy it.
every
So then they
time.
just undo
If
it.
you want to go to
I don't know
Tuesday
how it
Night
was
Live,
done.
for
That's why I said I
example,
don't think there's any
you'd have to
law.
hire an electrician
Yeah.
to unhook you. And unless you want to try to convert your truck to run on propane and, I don't know,
Yeah, that would be impossible.
Yeah, because you guys are always moving, you guys are
We
always
run like
going.
8,000-9,000 watts.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that we couldn't have an outlet there, I just know that we didn't. So whether or not, I guess that would be up to the electrical crew to
Can
figure
the
that part
outlet
out.
be in their vehicle instead?
Well, you'd have to,
We do have one.
No.
That's how we hook up to Tucson and Live.
right,
They installed the hookup for us, so we plug in there. So it's a
so
30.
my only concern with actually having an outlet on Village Green, some little kids go stick something in there. Power
It-
it on.
there might be regs that
That's exactly what I was saying, it would need to be locked.
It's like,
Well, yeah.
like the one we use
Lock
for the
box.
Jubilee is all locked up.
Yeah.
Or not.
The one
Yeah.
in the green is also got the cover and then you lock it in.
Yeah, because you guys would only be doing it a certain amount of days, because then you do your other travel and stuff too, right?
Well, that's what we.
Or are you thinking like,
We're trying to
figure
keep
it out.
we're trying to keep it to strictly events that we can plug in. Tuesday Night Live is one of them. It's been like one of our best. So we're just trying to eliminate the generator altogether. And like, I think that putting in the electrical post in that space would be like an investment in the future. Because like now that people are used to a truck being there, you kind of always want to have one.
That's
It
right.
would behoove you to kind of always have at least one or two there.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not,
we're trying to move away from it.
Just a suggestion.
It depends
For
on-
that
New
reason,
Year.
that we have a loud generator, so there's always a loud generator issue that we have, and then our truck's old.
we absolutely can't have a generator there
Yeah,
for a number of reasons.
yeah,
So,
But that's
front,
why
front porch
we're
warranty.
trying to move away from doing
I think
that.
it's something we could look into, Steve, that,
we can ask
check with
Nate
our crew
about what
and see if
the,
maybe we put in the posts with a lock box.
yeah,
And then they don't get to remove their
It's a
wire and
possibility.
stuff every
Right.
year.
Yeah.
You know,
they
can
would just
simply
have a plug
in.
like an RV has,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
one of those 220 dryer outlet style.
Yeah,
You know,
plugs.
that's exactly what we have.
It would be worth, it would make us more viable for other people that want to come in down the road.
yeah, and the food's good and everything, so I mean. Yeah, we
Yeah, I
got,
like your.
let's check with
I
the
would say,
pizza place and
I would
see
say-
what their thoughts are, I mean, what they're doing.
I mean, even if they move out in the first, you really want to set up for a month? Or would you like
We
to
can
plan
get
for
the
down the road?
power situation figured out, Because that's the other thing, you guys don't have water, right?
No, you have to have
So
your
we would have
own
to
water
have the
and
truck to,
and you have to be able to remove your own wastewater, so.
yeah, exactly, yep. So we probably have to, because the physical address of the business and where we actually like operate out of is my house. So we'd have to like at least once a week go dump the gray water, fill up with water, come back again.
And you have your insurances and certificate of
Oh, yeah.
health and all that.
Yeah.
So I would say the best bet is maybe just throw it out to Nate, but I doubt they would be getting to being able to put in the lines, do the outlets, lockbox in time for them and not disturb the people that are there, if they're still open.
Yeah.
So I would suggest they.
It might be a little late for this year is what we're saying.
Yes, we're fairly booked for October as it is, so we'd have to move it.
I feel we could accommodate that situation by spring.
Yeah,
You guys.
yeah. No, I definitely think so. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard.
Just change the date on that application.
Yeah. Just wait out.
And don't
Okay.
forget, next
I guess I just did.
There.
Would
So
you
now-
change it to May 1st?
Well, let's see, May, yep.
So now you guys do understand though that if you leave your rig there, you are charged.
Yeah.
days fee.
Yeah.
And we do request you guys have garbage barrels and remove them occasionally for your sites.
We do that too, so.
Pizza on Main brought a couple picnic tables, so if they're not there, they won't be there. That might be something you might want to consider.
Mhm.
Yep, we got a couple of tables that we got this year anyway, because we've been doing Sunday fun days up at Iris Lane. So we kind of set ourselves up for that, so.
We gotta do that?
At Iris Lane, Silvio's studio,
Oh,
yeah. So we've been doing that for the last couple
Yeah, people know your food now because of Tuesday Night Live and
Yeah.
everything, so
Yeah.
I think you would do good here.
They knew us last year from the generator. They didn't know where to find us this year.
Yeah, so plan on approaching us next spring and we'll try to have everything situated on our end.
And I would suggest coming early in
Yeah.
case we have to forget about getting the outlets in.
yeah.
So we have
What's
time to
early,
figure that out.
February?
Mhm.
No, I would say you want to.
April?
I'll be contacting someone directly. You'll know when it's time.
First, I have to talk to the head of the village electrical crew to find out if it's even code that he feels comfortable doing.
Okay, I don't know who, everybody knows who Howard is, right? From
I know
Tuesday Night Live.
how, we know
So
how.
I don't know, who Howard got to put the power in for us.
I believe they got funds from that goal, that
Oh, okay, so it was an outside electrician.
goal electric service did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. not that-
Yeah, it has to be somebody with a license.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, Howard has done some work.
we're
but
not
he's-
giving you a chance.
He's working under, I mean, he did some work at the Ted Alexander Welcome Center, but he's gonna have to get an electrician to sign off on it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Okay.
That brings us to item number 4.
No,
adoption.
2. You skipped over 2.
Oh, skipped over 2.
So my reason in bringing this one up, oh, wait, you want to read it? I don't know if you have to read it, whatever, for the Zoom or not.
Item number 2, Donna, is making village clerk and treasurer and assistant clerk and treasurer appointed positions after Rosemary retires.
And the reason I brought this one up is just, I think it would protect us. If Rosemary retires and somebody is elected, there's no background, there's no nothing, it could be a stranger off the street, and they get elected and we're stuck with them. So if we appoint these positions, we have control, and the select board has control of, you know, the whole process of hiring and background checks and make sure they can do the job. Because right now the town clerk is elected and the assistant clerk is appointed by the town clerk.
So
Thoughts?
what's the, does anybody in that office want to be town clerk?
At this point, Susan will not commit.
Smart woman.
But if she does, she's not a Johnson resident.
If you're appointed,
Yep.
you can appoint.
Yep, I was just told
representative.
by, for election, so
Right.
she wouldn't be able to run for election that way.
Right.
However, we could appoint her knowing that she did it. Now, it could be the same thing as, as BJ was saying, that somebody may run
I could run.
fresh out of college and say they can be the treasurer and not have any experience and win the election. They're,
You could have somebody like me doing that, like, you don't want me in those positions.
My intention is to stay into 2016. 2026.
Damn, you retired already, Rosemary.
2026.
Oh, goodness.
So three or four more years?
so that'd be.
3 years.
But you think 3 years comes fast. I mean, Rosemary has so much knowledge in her
4
head
years.
that
Well,
It's gonna-
3.5-ish.
Okay.
it's gonna take a while
It
to
is.
teach the girls.
But that's why Susan won't commit. I wouldn't either that far out.
Mhm.
But you learn a lot in that
Mhm.
amount of time. And again, this is another thing that involves the select board and
Yeah.
involves a town.
I've already talked to Beth. They are thinking the exact same thing. So this is not nothing we're voting on. This is something that we're bringing to
Just
you
talking
guys
about it.
as a talking
This-
subject, because Beth and you guys are on the exact same track as we are.
Okay, good.
See, for the town, it's elected every 3 years. The village never converted over, so it's once a year.
So we need to look into the Vermont laws, like if a charter needs to be changed or something. Do you
Yeah,
know
when
anything about
appointments
that,
made as opposed to an
Rosemary?
election.
Well, it's the voters that will
Correct.
have to make that change.
So we'd have to put it on the ballot. We'd
On
have
the
to-
town ballot, not on our ballot.
Yes, on both ballots.
On both.
On both ballots.
Oh,
I
Beth
mean-
was thinking it was just gonna be on her ballot.
So it
think
would have to be on the town, in March and April, right, on the, when we have, it would have to be one of the items for, that we vote on at town meeting.
Wait,
So Rosemary,
sorry, go ahead.
what happens if the town votes in one person and the village votes in another
We
person?
have two treasurers.
Mhm.
We have our own
Have we
treasurer.
ever had
and
that
they have
happen
their own
before?
instead of this year.
Not that I can remember.
Could happen.
Well, when Helen was still
Yeah.
town clerk, I was the village clerk and treasurer.
So it could happen.
Wow.
But she
you've
was
been here a
the,
long
but she
time.
was the assistant. So we just switched, back and
So let me ask you something, and maybe this is in my head, I'm wrong. Does the village people vote on town elections?
yes.
What you're
Yeah.
saying.
So
Yeah.
why would we have to have it on village and town? Because that'd give the village
They're
people
two-
double vote.
They're actually two separate
Just like double
positions.
taxing.
Tonight, she's our village treasurer.
Yeah,
Right.
And when she's at the select board, she's town.
Town.
yeah.
Two different treasurers.
Because
So the
we,
village people will
because,
vote twice.
because we
That's
pay
right.
two taxes. We
Right.
pay an extra little tax.
You are a
So-
town resident.
Yes.
in the village.
And that's where I was thinking, I'm also voting for the town, but I got it for that one position, I gotta vote for the town and the village on the exact same thing. Where everybody votes on the town one, why would we have to vote on the village? But that makes sense, because it is a
Village
position.
people are special.
Yes.
Special.
Capital letters.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Okay, and then another thing, when me and Beth were talking, we were looking, and she thinks it might be an error, but it shows that Rosemary is, I think it was Rosemary is our town clerk and treasurer, and it shows Sue as their treasurer, which we thought it was Rosemary's as both. So Beth is actually looking into that because she thinks that might be a typo in there. But we were also thinking, one person, like the town clerk having both, wouldn't it be like town clerk be the assistant treasurer and assistant clerk be the town treasurer, or the treasurer, kind of like division and then countering each other, kind of.
Some towns it is like that.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, because me and Beth were also kind of
It
talking
would,
on
it
that
would make
too.
sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because you're checking each other's stuff, but
Right.
you're taking a burden of both. But Beth is looking into like the charters and all that stuff. She's already on that process. This is again just something to bring up. Kind of know when we do have a meeting with them, this will be something that will probably be brought up between the two
Right.
crews.
Great, let them talk to legal on it.
And yeah.
But I agree, that's a good idea, as long as, I mean, unless Rosemary says she wants to stay forever.
I'm not staying forever.
Very good.
Any more discussion on the clerk treasurer position?
So we're gonna wait, you're gonna just keep us informed that you.
Yeah, as I'll keep in with Beth on that, and then we'll have a real discussion when we meet up amongst the two boards.
Yeah. That sounds great.
That brings us to number 4, adoption of the local hazard mitigation plan. Is that something we have here in our packet?
Well, I emailed you did I email it to
The
you?
big part.
The big
yeah.
packet,
Yeah.
and this is a kind of a summary thing I put in the packet today.
Okay.
And I have the paper here, that the resolution that needs to be signed.
I had one question on it, but it must have been in the big packet. Is it? Just where it's own responsibility.
I couldn't believe how much traffic went by on 100C.
A lot.
A lot, 2,300 cars a day.
Don't you ever sit outside your house and
Yes, I
listen to
do,
the
but
traffic?
that's a lot of
I
cars.
want the state to put up a no Jake break.
No what?
That goes so bad up to my place. It's
What
gonna
does?
drive you nuts.
The Jake brake on a truck where it goes.
Oh, no, yeah,
When they use their engine.
yeah.
When they come around
It's
that
just-
corner by that
Oh
wrong
my God,
ledge,
they
and then
hit it 7
step
times
on
till
it.
they get down by the
They love to
intersection.
do
It's
that.
awful.
Some of
It's loud. Very loud. But, I'm gonna make it swift and easy. I'm gonna motion that we pass the,
Here's the resolution.
do I have to read all that, or? Motion that the board of trustees of the village of Johnson find that the adoption of the multi-hazard plan is required as a condition of the communities to remain eligible for future federal emergency management fund, FEMA, mitigation grant funds. Johnson has prepared the Johnson local hazard mitigation plan to meet FEMA's funding requirements, a copy of which exhibit A, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna motion that we adopt the local hazard mitigation plan as written.
Second.
any discussion on it?
So we have to go over, the select board has to go over this assessment each year. Oh, and the village manager too,
Yes.
right? Every April.
Okay, so Eric gets to do this.
Mhm.
And it's basically the same thing, just some updated stuff that I saw in it. There is some actions that we have to do. That I was reading in the big packet,
Yes. The
that we have
battery,
to, I think, was it by spring, wasn't it? couple of
everything
things
has
that
to
we
be done by April, right?
Yeah. Well, there was only a couple of things on 2023. A lot of them were after
Right.
24, 26.
So I have 4 things: battery backup to improve grid resiliency, update culvert inventory, update flood hazard area regulations, and explore form-based code to be expanded to outside of village center.
Okay, well, culvert inventory isn't ours.
Right, it's town, but this is for the village and town.
Yeah, but
It's-
that still falls under that.
Right, right,
When you're talking about the roads in the village, it has nothing. to do
Right,
with it,
right, I
Besides the
know.
catch basins.
I know.
So this is different than the emergency plan that
Yes.
I had that meeting with Eric and.
Well, it says that we have to have it.
Okay,
Sure.
So. Rosemary and them to get the active shooter training downstairs.
Oh, good. I never saw it
so
done.
this
in my
is
life.
mandate.
Continue being shot at.
Talked about that from where I was in elementary school. Oh, I know. I went to the historical presentation yesterday about the school and the beginning of the school. and how we had to do air raid drills.
Mhm.
That's how old I am. And you
So
had
we
to
didn't
hide
know.
under your desk because the Russians were coming.
Yep.
They told you
Did you
that
have
for
to do that
nukes.
too?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What they didn't tell you was you're hiding under your desk for nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that's what we had to do.
yeah.
And they were saying in Johnson Elementary, they had to hide behind some big cabinets like that.
But you gotta remember, a lot of it is a placebo for the public.
Well, this was many, many, many
No,
years ago. before
even
all this
now, some of
craziness
this stuff, you
started.
know what I mean? You can make all the plans you want unless the person causing the problem is gonna follow the plan.
Yeah,
That's generally how it works.
yeah,
Preparedness is one thing.
yeah, well, they wanted us prepared.
Yeah.
Like, they almost got nuked. We're about 3 minutes away from getting nuked. That's why they started doing all that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. We're on discussion and you brought up the 4 points, right? One of which doesn't apply to us. Any other discussion?
There's a lot of stuff we'll have to discuss down the road unless Eric gets briefed up on.
Right.
Call the question.
Aye.
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 It passes unanimously. Do we have this water and wastewater application?
It never came in,
Okay,
so
so, is there a motion to adjourn?
No, new business. I got a few things. One, Linda, you wanna tell us
Yeah.
about the crosswalk, please?
Yeah. So I was in touch with AOT and several people, went through a whole chain of people to get to this. Anyway, I ended up hearing from Brandon Kipp. There's the project delivery bureau, the pavement design unit. I gave you each a paper that, a copy of the email that says if we want colored crosswalks, it's around $12,000 a piece to do that. Cambridge does epoxy service for their crosswalks, it's about $1,000 a piece. Or you can do the generic markings, and it's anywhere from $250 to $500. Anyway, they are in the process of putting all this together. So I guess maybe at our next meeting, we should talk about what it is that we think.
So the generic process, that's just standard procedure. That's nothing nuts. Like they're doing.
That's just normal.
So they're saying it costs them $200-500,
Yeah.
not us.
And so this is different than the state changing the crosswalk down by the Ebenezer bookstore. Because
I don't know, this was strictly talking about how my initial conversation with that was about coloring the pavement at the crosswalks. At the three
I
crosswalks.
remember Walter came in and talked
Right,
to us about.
so that's all that that's all that our conversation was about.
Yeah, well, Walter was just more for maybe an appeal in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
What he was.
To make it look
for, you know,
good,
Yeah,
instead of just some white stripes.
so they hold up a little better.
Yeah, he said
And
they
actually,
hold up.
now, I don't even know if you can really see that there's a crosswalk.
So the ones in Cambridge, can you see them?
I haven't been down there.
Yeah, I don't know what they look like.
Yeah, I don't
I
think.
think being the epoxy, it's the older stuff they used to do where they put it down
Basically,
and then throw glitter on top of it.
it'll hold
so
up better.
Glass, the
I
glass
believe
on it.
it's the thicker stuff and they stopped using that because it caused bike accidents, motorcycle accidents.
Oh, really? Because it's slippery?
Well, it's
I'll
high.
ask
it's
them
raised.
about that.
Oh,
When
It's
you're-
what, Ken? It's what? What did you
it's
say?
raised.
Oh,
It's raised.
Oh, the.
Yeah, it's so thick. That's why you see them like grinding the roads every once in a while, then painting yellow lines. They're getting it down below so that when you crop that, but now they put rubble strips, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it would seem like anything that's raised is just gonna wear down real quick.
So I think Walter had a great idea. I think, you know, I mean, something cool would be cool there, 3 spots in the middle of town, give our street a little pizzazz, but. So
They
I
have
think,
them colored?
I think just anything, you know what I mean? Just like you said, maybe the epoxy, the better of the two besides
Yeah.
just spray paint. So I'd say we just throw this at the top of our list.
So let me ask you, is that colored considered stamping? Or is that, no, is that just a
12
color?
12 grand a year.
But is that stamping? Because they don't use the
No.
word stamping. in here.
No.
No, I think
It's
it's
mixed.
it's mixed into the.
Oh, mixed into
Yeah, so
it.
it's permanent.
Oh,
They're gonna stop the sidewalk and then fill it, or the crosswalk.
No wonder
and
it
fill
costs so
in.
freaking much.
That's a
right.
lot of money. We have other priorities.
That's right, that's not.
Yeah.
gonna-
That's what I was saying, where I can see, if we had to do $1,000 one to get a local size, that's better than 12,000.
Or to have them hold up, to have them actually
Yeah.
see.
Right.
We'll have to check out Cambridge's.
Yeah.
What
And
I was
see
gonna
how they
ask
hold
about is, why can't we get some of them crosswalk signs that you hit in the light flash so that people actually stop?
Oh, you know what, I don't know about more signs on Main Street.
No, the actual crossing signs, where you go up and hit the button and.
Oh,
and you
I
actually
see.
have
So
the
you can
two
get
orange
across.
lights on.
Yeah.
That's
So
all
people
gonna have to
actually
go through the
stop.
state, you know?
Because the other day I was coming back to Burlington, and as I turned the corner, I watched two people stand there and watch traffic keep on going, and you're supposed to stop. So either that or we get the crews to come out and put one of them stop on crosswalks signs like Snow does and everywhere else.
So do we want to put this on the 28th to just bring up again, talk about the walkway on the 28th of this month during
Sure, that would
that
be-
information meeting that we're
I
doing?
mean, I'm sure that's, I guess that's Linda, whether she's still.
Yeah, any
staying
other
on that.
questions?
I'd like to know like visually, if they can do pictures of what's the difference between a $200 one and a $1,000 one, like, is it?
I don't care about visually, I care more about how it's gonna look. They're all gonna look nice when they're first done.
Yeah.
I want how long they're gonna last.
Okay, so yeah.
So next time you drive through Cambridge, or Jeff, look through that there,
Yeah,
because they have,
'cause you go
they're
by.
the ones that use the epoxy.
Yeah,
Okay, that's right, in Cambridge?
It says, he said, Cambridge,
where's it, Jeff?
That's what
it says that Cambridge Johnson is carrying an epoxy surface applied, which is currently around. So I don't know this is
Fine.
ours. Yeah,
Can
I'll
you
ask
find
him.
out?
Okay.
And-
Yeah,
Just any more information on it,
Yeah.
kind of give us
yeah.
Oh, good, glad he got it.
That's why I asked you the question, because I don't think of everything.
another thing I'd like to bring up, where are we at with Eric's laptop?
It's ordered
Perfect.
and we got the old one back. We got it up and running. So he may have to use the older one until that comes.
Until this comes.
Because they told me that sometimes they come in 3 or 4 days and sometimes it takes 3 or 4 weeks. Then they need a week to,
He told me he doesn't want a second phone.
so he told me that he wants $45 a month
Oh, to help him pay for his.
for him.
Which makes sense, most companies do that,
Yeah.
so.
And he doesn't want his number published, his phone number. People
You
need to
call the
just,
office.
yeah, call the office.
Yeah.
And when you call the office, they'll get an answering service.
Not for here,
After hours,
after hours.
we'll have a cell phone.
Yeah, we'll have, and all the important people in the village will have it, just the public.
Which is standard, they call the office is closed.
So he's gonna keep his own cell phone?
Yes.
And his cell phone, he told me, he's got a lot of contacts in it already that will serve him in this job. I mean, not that he couldn't switch him to another phone, but he's just saying.
But it's his personal, it's his,
It's his
he
personal
uses
phone.
it for.
And I get it why he doesn't want to carry
There's
two
no
phones.
hazard to us, it's only to him for public records request.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he gets one of those, he's, yeah, it's free,
the whole
but
thing,
it's free, yeah.
Yeah, so if he gets public records request, they get to get into his phone.
Right. And then we're paying him $45.
$45, just reimburse
a
them.
month.
That's the standard, that's what
Yeah, a
I
lot
pay
of
for
companies,
mine.
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of companies do that. If you don't take their cell phone, you give them a little per diem to offset some of their cell phone bill.
And that's standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually cheaper than what we pay for.
I
mine.
figured,
Yeah. And my last one, we were talking about the audit.
Yeah,
What was that?
so
About?
it's what VEPSA needs for their bonding, and Rosemary knows all about it, and so I mentioned it to Ken Nolan today, so there's no pressure or anything, that he, as long as we're working on it, is the only thing he cares about.
Our other auditors told me at the end of last week that they cannot do another audit for us. So I'm gonna get another letter written and go out to 4 or 5 different
Okay.
firms.
So what is the audit for specifically?
Rosemary.
Oh, sorry, what
It's
is
the
it?
audit for all the departments.
You do it every year, right?
Oh, so because of
they haven't-
COVID, we kind of,
Well, that's one of the reasons they don't have, they're downsizing, they don't have enough staff and COVID is taking a lot of,
is there anything any of our staff do?
no, it has to be,
It's
it
beyond
has to
that.
be a CPA firm.
CPA firm.
Yes.
Okay.
And last I heard, currently we don't have, well, right now we have one elected auditor, but I've heard he probably going to resign. So we don't have an actual village auditing people.
So we're gonna have
Elected.
to outside
They have a knock on Walter's door.
We can do away with the auditing office for the village if we have outside firms every year.
And that's gonna cost.
So
us-
VEPSA needs not just our electric department,
No,
but
well, the audit is for the whole village. You just can't do one section of it.
So it's everybody all.
well, according to Ken, as long as we're working on it,
Yeah.
then we're cool.
Mhm.
And he said his only concern is they get audited
Mhm, mhm.
and
They have to have it.
they do bonding, which I don't understand completely.
So let me ask.
But he's
Eric
cool.
must be able to help you out with that as far as looking for other stuff. or-
Yep, yep.
Okay, so we'll.
This firm gave me, I think, 3 or 4 different names.
Good.
and
So
I
out of
knew all the names.
curiosity, how much do we pay an auditor? Just, I'm thinking in the future. How much do we pay our auditor a year compared to paying an outside agency? I mean, is it even
Kind of like
close?
hiring
No.
a CPA to do your
No.
taxes, it's what it's gonna take to finish the setup, and that's what you're in your charge.
So it'd be a lot more
So
for
it's
the
gonna be
outside to do
generally their hours.
No, they have to have a rating, BJ, like a CPA has to have graduated from like a school, like a
Yeah.
college.
it. But that's what I'm
So
saying,
we
with
can't-
our CPA,
The person wouldn't want to go through all that just to do our one thing.
no, we have one that's
Yeah,
elected.
we think
They're elected, but
Yeah.
they are laymen. They don't know anything about.
Oh, so they're not
Yeah, they- it's a
CPAs.
big-
Oh, no,
Oh, I thought they were
Big audit.
CPAs because they
No,
were
no,
our
no, no,
auditors.
it's a big audit.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay. Perfect. Now that's for
The
me.
same thing.
I think the person's a mechanic, so
So I think
he doesn't know
Okay.
anything about auditing.
Yeah. People can know a lot about accounting, but not be a CPA.
Correct.
So now that it's on all of our radar, it's something we can add to the working group just to prioritize it at some point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
For
And
Eric to work
well, I
with.
did want to dump this one on Eric's lap first thing.
Oh, no, well,
I think he's got
you
enough,
gotta get a wheelbarrow rolled in.
Yep.
Yeah.
First morning.
but we can just tell him, which is true, that Rosemary's working on it.
But that's what I'm saying, if we come up with a prioritized list for Eric to hammer down through, it's better than us running in one at a time and saying, you gotta start helping Rosemary with it out,
Absolutely.
figuring that, you know what I mean? So with this number one, don't touch number two until you get number one started. And- 'cause that'd
I
be a
think
good
he's
way
the
to-
kind of guy that can
Absolutely,
multitask.
I'm not saying that, but he's good, he could pick the crosswalks as priority.
Right, I know.
Public
He could
safety,
get
but
bogged
it's
down
not our priority
real,
right
he
at
could
the
get
moment.
bogged down real easy.
Yes, we don't want that, we want the garage.
The garage, the garage, the garage, the garage.
But a lot of lending people, they won't lend us money unless we have a
Audit, yep, so it's gonna have to
And
be
what
out
time
there,
of
and
year is that normally done?
it's 3 years late.
Well,
We
we're
haven't
working
had it
on,
done in 3 years.
with our last one,
2019.
2019.
4 years. But do we do it once a year?
Once a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we gotta get it done, and
I mean, you have to give them all your
Yeah.
books, right, Rosemary? And they go through everything with it, and then they have to sign off and say
Then
that.
they make a whole big report.
So will they have to do that for all the year, they have to retroactive all the years that it hasn't been done? It has
They have to do 20 and 21.
So it has to go back all the way.
Mhm.
It's gonna cost us a little bit.
Well, it's about probably $10,000 a year,
Yeah.
roughly.
It's just one of the costs of,
Doing
Oh,
business.
I know, I remember doing it on the school board.
no,
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah.